Vera Berger, a youth leader of Fight for Our Lives Albuquerque and Southwest Organizing Project.
Good afternoon. My name is Vera Berger. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I'm a senior at Bosque School. I'm a leader of a youth advocacy group, Fight for Our Lives Albuquerque, which is sponsored by the Southwest Organizing Project. Thank you for the opportunity to address this commission. Before I begin, I ask that the commission please hold these sessions in locations that are diverse and that are accessible to the majority of the people. As one of the only students in the room, I hope to provide a unique perspective. My generation has grown up in the wake of the Columbine massacre. We watched the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School unfold, and we were horrified. Ultimately, we were hopeful because we knew that the tragedy would bring change. Since Sandy Hook in 2012, however, there have been over 250 school shootings and little political action. My generation has had a sort of collective realization in the past few years that our fears of being shot at school are in no way baseless. So I asked my peers to share stories surrounding school safety and suggestions, and many told me they felt they didn't have access to a school counselor, which didn't surprise me since the average caseload of a guidance counselor in New Mexico is 471 students. I was shocked, however, by how many had had actual experiences with lockdowns due to students with weapons on campus. These were not false alarms, and I heard again and again quotes like, "I was terrified. It was the most scared I've been in my life, and I've had countless nightmares since." Every person with whom I spoke confessed that they were afraid. We are afraid, and I would like to clarify that we are not only afraid of being shot at school, but that our voices are not being heard. We fear that our education and our safety are becoming politicized. We live in a nation where education is supposed to be free, but children are paying with their lives. It's become this relentless repetition of school shootings. So safety in the context of New Mexico, which is a minority-majority state, means ensuring equity through fostering collectiveness in a school setting. As mentioned in the previous administration's Rethink Discipline guidelines, students of color are disproportionately affected by an increase of security in schools. They're disproportionately targeted and criminalized. Recent data also show that students of color are more severely punished than white students. I fear that arming teachers, zero-tolerance policies, or increasing the presence of law enforcement officers on school grounds will further threaten the emotional and physical safety of my classmates who are students of color, many of whom feel anything but safe when law enforcement are present because of the many documented incidents of abuse perpetrated by school resource officers. In terms of arming teachers, there are so many things that could go wrong. Beyond being a huge financial undertaking, there's a potential for accidental shootings, which has happened, and for someone else getting hold of the gun. Beyond that, teachers get stressed, they get angry, and I can't imagine sitting in my classroom and knowing that there's a gun waiting to be pulled. I'm asking for holistic support for students from elementary school on. Not only do we need more guidance counselors, but we need social workers, trained mental health professionals who can truly address red flags among students. Furthermore, I urge the commission to recommend that we keep the Rethink Discipline guidelines. These guidelines protect my civil rights and my peers. School shootings are not caused by psychiatric drugs or by bad parenting or video games. A lack of effective intervention is responsible for the threat of a shooting, and guns are responsible for the shooting. While the circumstances of past school shootings vary, it's irrefutable that guns have been involved in every single one. Therefore, I strongly urge the Commission to consider guns a primary threat to school safety, including guns in the hands of teachers and guns in the hands of law enforcement and school safety personnel. I also ask you to recommend raising the minimum age to purchase long guns, to require universal background checks, and to support red flag legislation, which allows temporary restriction of access to firearms for people who demonstrate threatening behavior to themselves or to others. I also do not feel that there is any need in our society for civilians to have semi-automatic or automatic weapons. Instead, fostering a culture of collectiveness, establishing effective intervention policies backed by federal funding for implementation, gun reform, and comprehensive social and emotional support will help me to feel safe when I walk into school every day. Our greatest fear upon arriving at school should be that of a forgotten assignment, not the threat of a shooter. We should be planning prom dates instead of escape routes. Every person has the right to an education and without fear of losing their life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berger, and best wishes as you continue with your study.